apps essentially on the air.
Night Host is on network television. There is a licensing. I'll give you an example. I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I get 97% negative, and yet I won easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, I won everything. And if they're 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away.
Let's talk about it. First, I want to say I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a law degree, and I'm just some guy on the internet giving my opinion on this based on research into specific case law surrounding the First Amendment. I have a few case studies I want to cover to give context for my opinion, but by all means, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. To start, let's go back to 1931 with Neer versus Minnesota. J. Neer was a small-time newspaper publisher accusing local officials of being in league with gangsters. Minnesota had a law allowing judges to shut down newspapers that published malicious, scandalous, and defamatory content. The Supreme Court ruled that this kind of prior restraint, stopping speech before it happens, is unconstitutional, except in extremely rare cases. This case really set the stage for protecting newspapers and the press from governmental oversight. Going back a few years to 1919, Schneck versus the United States. Charles Schneck was a socialist handing out pamphlets urging men to resist the World War I draft. He was charged under the Espionage Act of 1917, which made it illegal to interfere with the war effort or recruitment. Schneck lost his case, showing that free speech isn't absolute, but importantly, the court introduced the clear and present danger test, a framework for determining when speech can actually be punished. Jumping ahead to 1971, we have New York Times versus United States. A military analyst, Daniel Ellsberg, leaked the Pentagon Papers, exposing how the government misled the public about the Vietnam War. This case shows how high the burden is to justify prior restraint. The government can't just vaguely claim national security, they must prove direct, immediate, and irreparable harm before stopping publication. Then, in 2000, United States versus Playboy added another layer. This case dealt with the government restricting sexually explicit cable programming to certain hours to protect children. Playboy sued, arguing their First Amendment rights were violated. The court agreed, saying the government must use the least restrictive means possible, like allowing parents to block channels individually rather than imposing a blanket restriction. And finally, going back to 1931 again, Stromberg versus California reminds us that free speech isn't just about spoken or written words. Symbols count too. Even raising a flag can be protected expression. Now, why is this important today? It's important to note that Trump is just making an offhand comment. He hasn't actually done anything yet. The removal of Jimmy Kimmel after alleged pressure from an FCC director to ABC is a separate issue, which I'll cover in another video, but in short, most states, including California, are at-will employment states. Companies can terminate employees for almost any reason at almost any time, as long as it isn't illegal, like discrimination. The bigger question is whether it's illegal for a regulatory agency to put pressure on a private company, and I'll dive into that in another video. Finally, I want to touch on a logical inconsistency I'm seeing. Charlie Kirk's death was tragic. Killing him doesn't make sense from anyone on the left, and I won't speculate about conspiracy theories from the right. There just isn't enough hard evidence. But reactions from the right focus heavily on free speech. Charlie has been exalted as a martyr for expressing free speech. No matter how inflammatory, counterculture, or unpopular someone's opinion is, they are entitled to speak it. Kirk went into areas of high left influence in academia and spoke on topics which many would avoid. In doing so, he became a tragic victim of political violence and was praised as a champion of free speech. Despite that, we are seeing a crackdown on speech that doesn't follow the same logic. People critical of Kirk after his death are facing public pressure and are often seen getting fired from their jobs. However, cancel culture has been around a long time. and it has affected conservative and traditional voices in the past. To me, it just seems inconsistent to praise Kirk for exercising free speech even in hostile spaces, and then condemn others who use the same rights to share controversial opinions. Add governmental statements threatening speech critical of officials, and the logic gets even murkier. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and if you want to see more content like this, like, subscribe, and share so I can keep making these videos. Thanks.